Marilee Turner. Letta Neustetter.
Neustetter is not here.
Kylie Johnson. Jennifer Martinez. Joseph Christofferson. Christofferson. He did? Where was I? Thought I was there. Yeah, thanks. Susan Gilletti?
She can't be here this evening.
Joseph L. Smith. Nikki Matthews. Karen McMillan. Sally, boy. DJEMBLS. I didn't get there. Who's this that came up in front? Stand up.
Karen McMillan.
Karen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. My name is Karen McMillan, and I live in Meridian with my wife and our 4 children. I just want to tell you, I'm a 3rd-generation Idahoan. My grandfather on my dad's side worked at the sugar beet factory in Nampa, and he was a painter. And my grandmother was a school lunch lady. And on my mom's side of the family, my grandparents were Guernsey farmers. And my parents met and fell in love at Napa High School. And I grew up in the Nazarene Church, and I appreciate everything I learned. And I appreciate my parents, and I love the state of Idaho. I have experienced discrimination, and I just quickly want to tell you a little bit about what happened. I got an opportunity to work for a company. I was super excited. They hired me. It was an at-home food delivery company. They have branches all over Idaho and other states. And I was one of 14 sales reps that they hired, and I was the only girl. And I was proud because I got to drive a kind of big truck, and that was cool. And I got to work with people, and I got to go to people's homes. I got to find out what their needs were, and I got to sell them products that I believed in, and I thought it would help their lives. I actually was really good at it. I had good sales. I was beating some of my male counterparts, so that kind of made me feel good inside. And they were happy to have me because they wanted to have more women on the sales force. And it came upon a time when we were going to have a general sales meeting. And all of the salespeople were invited to come to this mandatory meeting. And but the courtesy of the company, they could bring their spouses, wives, girlfriends, boyfriends to this. And we we're going to have dinner and talk about our company. And so I went to my manager.
You have about 30 seconds.
Okay. And I said, I'd like to sign up, and I'd like to bring my partner, who was female. And at that moment in time, he said, oh gosh, Karen, please don't ever say that again. You need to hide this. You need to, the company doesn't like those kinds of things around here. You're a good employee, but I don't want to lose you, so you got to be quiet. Well, that stress was just too much. And in the 20 seconds I have left, that stress just, I had to go look for work elsewhere. And I know that this isn't the worst story you've heard today, but it is my story. And I just urge you to vote yes for House Bill 2 because it's just, simple Idahoans like me that you'd be protecting. Thank you for your time.
Questions? Thank you. Sally? Danae Carson? James Tidmarsh?
Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, I yield.
Thank you. If you're Danae, step up. Go ahead.
Hello, my name is Danae Carson. Greetings, Chairman and committee. I'm 17 years old. I've lived in Idaho all 17 years in the same house, in the same district. I'm a fourth-generation Idahoan. I'm a daughter of 2 loving parents, and I have 2 sisters. As I grew up, public bathrooms were terrifying and always a huge ordeal for me and my family. One of my parents is gender fluid. They do not fit into the binary gender system. So picking a bathroom is horrible. Going in was always full of a course of mom to try to fit my parent into a little box so the rest of society felt comfortable. When I hear people talk about how they fear for their children's safety going into public restrooms if transgender people are allowed into restrooms, it makes me cringe. Because in reality, it is not the people who neatly fit into their perceived gender identity, the one that they happen to be born into, like you and I, that are the ones that need to fear for their safety in the bathrooms. The gender-conforming people, like you and I, we do not have to calculate if we can wait till we can get home. We do not have to think about if we should drink that extra glass of water, so we'll have to end up using the restroom in a public place. Because nobody cares more about safety and privacy in public restrooms than the transgender people. And I am not naive enough to believe that adding the words will change the way that people think overnight, the way that people treat my family, my friends, and my loved ones. But I believe it is a step in the right direction so that they feel protected by the law. So please add me and my family. I stand for questions.
Other questions? Thank you. Renee McCall. Patricia McKernan.
I spoke earlier, thank you.
Oh, thank you. Evangeline Beechler, is it? Yeah, well, that's good enough for horseshoes, but I don't know about this. Beth Lonnie. Ty Carson. Go ahead and step up to the microphone.
It's Evangeline, just for the record, and I feel like I have stellar handwriting.
Well, you do, but I don't have stellar eyes anymore.
That's fine. I'm just going to go ahead and submit my testimony in the interest of time as written for you guys, which I guess is putting right here. I would, however, like to address a question that Representative Bateman asked last night, if at all possible.
Go ahead.
Representative Bateman, I sympathize with your family member that is overweight. As you can tell, I am not slender by any means. At my heaviest, I was over 400 pounds. Worked really hard to take that down a notch. This isn't my first time in front of the legislature. I work for a developmental disabilities agency, and I testify frequently advocating for other people. I am very familiar with a lot of IDAPA code of federal regulations, that sort of thing. The Social Security Administration, for people that are obese with a BMI over 40, with functional limitations, that is actually considered a disability. So if that were the case for your family member, that would already be protected under the Idaho Human Rights Act. I just wanted to pass that on because I deeply understand the needs of people that are overweight and people with disabilities. So, any questions anyone would like to ask me?
Questions?
I have answers to things. No, we're good?
Lucky you.
I know. Thank you. So we're good?
Thank you for being here.
Okay. Yes.
Representative Bateman.
Mr. Chairman, Madam, I'm fully aware that you're now fully aware that obese people are covered under the Disabilities Act. And my point was that my observation that their discrimination, as I've been able to observe, is equal or perhaps even more so than I've observed with gay people. Thank you.
Okay. I appreciate your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Beth Lonnie? Ty Carson?
Chairman, members of the House State Affairs Committee, thank you for your patience in hearing 9 years of testimony.
And we've done it in 3 days?
My name is Ty Carson. I'm a third-generation Idahoan. I served in the 8 years in the Idaho Army National Guard. I was born in Silverton, Idaho. I grew up in Idaho schools. Growing up, I was verbally and physically harassed on a regular basis in classrooms and playgrounds, while teachers and administrators stood by in silence. These attacks caused me great harm and hurt that still affects me today. Adding these 4 words will allow you, the leaders of this great state, to finally say that harm to our young people in our schools and teachers and administrators, silence needs to stop. Nobody should have to attend our schools in fear. I am here today with actual, real experience of what it's like to live in Idaho as a parent, a veteran, a taxpayer, and have to use a public bathroom. The leaders of this state have been silent in saying that discrimination is wrong, and in that silence, people of this state have nurtured an environment that encourages people to harm me. I will tell you what it's like to go into a public bathroom. I take a really deep breath. I focus my eyes on the floor. I pray that God will protect me and keep me safe. I also pray that there's an open stall. I go into the bathroom. I run to the stall. I lock the door. I take care of business. I wait respectfully until I've heard that other people have left. I keep my eyes down. I leave, I wash my hands, I run out of the bathroom, and then I breathe again. I would also like to tell you about some of the interactions that I have with other Idaho citizens. Watching them run out of the bathroom yelling for a manager, being shoved, told that I am an abomination, angrily, loudly telling me all about Jesus, and quoting me various Bible verses. Local business owners and security guards have grabbed me and forcibly
About 30 seconds left.
removed me from the bathrooms. I have even been blocked from leaving locker rooms and asked to remove key pieces of clothing that would prove my gender. I've been forced to stay in locker rooms until local police arrive to remove me. Local business owners and citizens feel empowered to treat me with this violence because we don't have these 4 words, 4 small words that will do much to begin to change the paradigm in our state that violence and harm towards gay and transgender folks like me is okay. I love God. I left my church respectfully when I realized that I was different. I respected them, but I believe that religious freedoms end when they cause and encourage harm to others.
Your time has expired. Please wrap up.
Okay. I am now a 42-year-old adult, a parent, a spouse. Our oldest daughter just graduated from Seattle University. We have 2 high school seniors, and all 3 of my kids went to the same local schools that I had attended. Imagine my dismay when I heard them share at the dinner table, witnessing some of the same hurtful discrimination happening in the exact same schools 25 years later. Imagine my heartbreak as I learned that Idaho is still near the top in the nation in teen suicide. When is a good time for you, the leaders of this great state, to add these words so that all citizens can start treating each other with respect, and finally say that all citizens should be allowed the liberty to work hard, support our families, contribute to and do business in our communities? The time is now. I believe in my heart that adding these 4 words will begin the shift to encourage all Idaho citizens to treat each other with basic humanness.
Are there questions? Thank you. We've got 2 pages here. If we hurry, maybe we can get that done in the next 20 minutes. I might be too hopeful. Nicholas Eisel, come forward. Carrie Cook. Wynn Nelson. Or Aaron Nelson. Caleb Hansen, Holly Cook. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. In the interest of time, I'm going to try to keep this as brief as I can. I wrote a lot more, but I think the main takeaway for me in this entire issue of add the words is really just making sure that we don't attribute one thing that we observe about a sample and attribute that to the whole. So if we see one individual that we consider to be perverted or any of these sorts of things, we shouldn't attribute that to all of the LGBT community or anything like that. And that's all I have to say.
Questions? Thank you. Carrie Cook. Wynn Nelson. I have a feeling I messed a name up.
Aaron
Okay,
Nelson.
Aaron Nelson.
Thank you.
Let me get a couple. Caleb Hansen, Holly Cook, Cecilia Jordan, Wendy Irwin. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. For the record, my name is Aaron Nelson. I'm a resident in Boise, Idaho, and I'm also an employee of a small business. My work colleague, the owner of my small business, Bruce Delaney, spoke earlier today. Thank you for the committee for holding this hearing and allowing the voices of the public to be heard. I'd like to start out by saying that there are people who would like to be here today providing you with their testimonies about why adding the 4 words sexual orientation and gender identity to the Idaho Human Rights Act is important, but they can't. They can't be here today because they run the risk of being outed in their workplaces. They can't because being outed could result in the loss of their jobs, their homes, and their lives. Democracy is failing them. For those who stand here today facing the possibility of eviction, job loss, and violence, thank you. And those who are silenced because they are not protected by Idaho law, I'm sorry you are not able to testify here today because you do not have the same human rights as those who testified against you. When Idaho citizens cannot participate in our democratic process, we know something is wrong. It is a process that was designed to represent all people, but not all people are truly represented and protected because sexual orientation and gender identity have not been added to this bill. Systematic oppression marginalizes certain groups and offsets the balance of power within a given community. As it stands, we are marginalizing the LGBTQIA community by not allowing them the same rights as other Boise citizens protected under this bill, resulting in a systematic inequality, loss of life, job losses, and a weakened community. Here in Boise, we know we are protected by law if we are fired due to race, color, religion, national origin, age, or disability. We also have the ability to choose our religion, and there are protections in our Idaho Human Rights Act for those who choose religion. Being on the LGBTQIA spectrum is not a choice, but let's entertain for a second that it is. If a certain populace is choosing a specific religion and receives protections for it, it is fair to say that those who choose to live within the LGBTQIA community deserve the same protections. But anyone who identifies as LGBTQIA does not choose to identify this way, which furthers my point that this population in Idaho is deserving of protection from discrimination because
about
gender
20
identity,
seconds.
thank you, because gender identity and sexual orientation are intrinsic human traits. This law encourages business owners to treat all Idahoans with the respect and dignity they deserve, the same respect they receive at work in the public domain because of their races, religions, and genders. This law asks for the same respect and protection for those who hold religions close to their hearts receive. I encourage lawmakers to add the 4 words to protect our Idaho citizens. I encourage the committee to add the 4 words so every Idaho citizen can come down to the Lincoln Auditorium and participate in democracy without the risk of losing their homes, their jobs, or their lives. I encourage you to give every Idahoan a voice. I stand for questions.
Other questions? Thank you. Caleb Hansen.
Also have somebody here who was called this morning but was not here at that time. Just FYI. Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, first of all, thank you for taking on the responsibility of addressing this important issue. My name is Caleb Hansen. I grew up in Meridian, Grew up here in Idaho, attended 4 semesters of college in Rexburg, and since 2008, I've made my living as a small business owner in Meridian. I'm unaffiliated with any political party. I'm neither gay nor transgender, and I testify representing myself. The issues before this committee are not of a partisan nature. The idea that all of us allow others to live according to the dictates of their own conscience isn't just the right thing to do. It is a very mechanism by which we guarantee that freedom for ourselves. The Idaho legislature crafted our human rights law with thorough religious exemptions which have stood the test of time. This bill is not starting from scratch without concern for religious freedom. It is carefully adding 4 words to a law with extensive religious exemptions already in place. Adding these 4 words does not delete the pages of religious exemptions that have protected our state for nearly half a century. Religious freedom is not a partisan issue. It is something all Idahoans value, including those in favor of passing this bill. The bill itself has never been a partisan issue. It was presented 5 years ago by 2 Republican senators and narrowly defeated in what was not a party line vote. In Idaho, a majority of citizens, whether Republican or Democrat, are in favor of making this bill a law. In December of 2014 study by Utah polling firm Dan Jones and Associates, and published this month by Zions Bank, Idahoans were asked a question which perfectly reflects the provisions of HB 2. Should it be illegal to discriminate in housing, employment, and business based on sexual orientation and gender identity in Idaho? 52% of Idahoans who identify themselves as very conservative answered that it should be illegal. Republicans 58%, Democrats 87%, Independents 72%, very active Latter-day Saints 64%, somewhat active 68%, Catholics 71%, Protestants 57%. Each of these demographics not only favors passage of the bill, but twice as many in the religious demographics are in favor of it as oppose it. In each of
30
those
seconds.
religious demographics. I join with Republicans, with Democrats, with independents. I join with conservatives. I join with Mormons, Catholics, and Protestants in asking this committee to protect our brothers and sisters, protect our friends, our loved ones, our co-workers. Add these 4 words to our human rights law. I stand for questions.
Questions? Thank you. Who's this with you?
Ashley Thompson.
Yeah, I was here earlier today. I couldn't be here earlier today, excuse me.
Would you please be brief?
Yes. My name is Ashley Thompson. 23 years old. I'm a senior at Boise State University. I'm a social work major. And I just wanted to say that we really need to add these words. And as a gay woman with a family, it's really important that we reduce the discrimination that's happening, and this is a way to do it. And I'm a really stubborn person, and I don't like to ask for help. But we need your help. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you. Holly Cook. Cecilia Jordan. Please be brief. We'd really like to get through this.
Cecilia Jordan, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My husband and I are proud parents of a gay son and a straight daughter. As I wrote those words, it struck me that I'd never before said, "We have a straight daughter." And we have many times said, "We have a gay son." Why? What's the difference? What difference does it make who's gay and who's straight? When our son was a young boy, we wondered about his sexual orientation, and later he realized he was just born gay. He chooses to raise orchids, and he chooses to be a Trekkie. He didn't choose to be gay. Our daughter chooses art and travel. She didn't choose to be straight. Each deserve equal human rights rights. Please pass House Bill 2. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Wendy Irwin. Steve Birch will be next.
Hello, I'm here representing my spouse, JJ. JJ is transgender, that is, she was born a biological male, but she identifies as female. JJ does not conform to societal norms. She has long hair, she wears makeup and women's clothing. If JJ was to tell you about herself, she'd tell you that she served with the U.S. Marine Corps. In 2003, she received an honorable discharge at the rank of sergeant. Only last month, JJ completed her master's degree in botany. Her research over the past few years has taken place here in Idaho, and her first peer-reviewed article resulted from work she did near the little town of Ellis. JJ has hiked in nearly every mountain range in the state. Our family has lived in Boise for 2 years now, and here in town, JJ's gender identity does make her an outlier in the population. Much of her professional and recreational work continues to put her in rural communities where she's even more of an outlier. Many of these communities have not adopted legal protections for gay and transgender people, and to tell the truth, JJ doesn't feel comfortable presenting as herself while spending time in these less populated areas. We've been really fortunate here in Boise. We've found acceptance here, from JJ's workplace to our son's doctor to our local parent group. And I really would like to think that we would find the same acceptance anywhere, that we would never face employment or housing discrimination or be turned away from local businesses. But not every LGBT person has been as fortunate as we have, and that's why I'm speaking here today. House Bill 2 amends an existing law in such a way that it does not affect religious freedom any more than it already did. The Idaho Human Rights Act is not the act to protect those people who are deemed socially and morally acceptable. Its purpose was intended to protect all Idahoans from discrimination in these specific realms of employment, housing, and public accommodation. All these things I've told you about JJ shouldn't matter. Whether or not you approve of my spouse or me, we just as much as any other segment of the population deserve these protections. It's time our state acknowledges this, as a number of our Idaho cities have already done. And by passing House Bill 2, you will encourage young LGBT professionals such as JJ to come work in Idaho when otherwise they might not. Thank you.
Questions? Thank you.